Hello everybody and good day. This is Fred with Tech Talk, and we are coming at you today with a video on what to do in the event that you are experiencing fluency difficulties when you are trying to stream your Hikvision or DAWA, your security surveillance footage to a phone app, or using client software to view them remotely. Okay, a lot of times what happens is you put cameras, say you have a 4K NVR that you purchased, and you put 4K cameras with that 4K NVR, and it's a 16 channel unit. You would expect those cameras to be able to stream through the recorder fluently, but that is not the case. All of these recorders have bandwidth limits that you need to comply with in order to use the recorder efficiently and have the viewing fluent. As you look, we're pulling up a location here that's actually got 32 cameras, only 4 of them are up. But if we double click on a picture of a slip area, you'll see that our timestamp is streaming fluently. You can see the water moving. There's no binding or anything like that, even with 32 cameras. The reason for that is we've used a bandwidth calculator and set the cameras accordingly to work with this model NVR. It's not a difficult process. We're going to cover it right now. Alright, so yes, let's get into the meat and potatoes. Before we do, there is a red subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. You know the deal. Please click that if you have not yet done so you can receive notifications when we upload future content. Also, like the video if it's useful to you, and as always, leave comments. A lot of these videos are based on subscriber comments and questions. Okay, so yes, the first thing we are going to do is we have to determine what make and model we have for a recorder and find its data sheet or its spec sheet so we can know the bandwidth it can process. Okay, on this channel we talk a lot about Hikvision and DAWA. Okay, so we're going to talk about a recorder that we've done a lot of videos on. It is Hikvision's 4K plug and play NVR recorder. Okay, it's a very popular recorder. It's got a built-in PoE switch in the back of this unit, so you can home run Cat5e or Cat6 cable from the camera location to the NVR, plug the camera into the NVR, and the NVR will auto-program the camera. Okay, as long as it's a Hikvision camera. As you can see here, it says 4K. Okay, 4K. It's a 4K NVR. Yet it does have limitations. Okay, we see outgoing bandwidth can only be 80 Mbps. So in order for this to work fluently with hik-connect, the phone app, or the client software for remote viewing, which is IBMS 4200, we need to stay below 80 for all 16 of these cameras. It also would tell you 4K, okay, 4K cameras by Hikvision standards and DAWA as well, is 8 megapixel. Okay, so that is 4 times 1080p, okay, which is 2 megapixel. It's a very detailed camera. Okay, so we're going to make a mental note of that. 80 Mbps for 16 cameras. Okay, fair enough. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our hik-connect converter to tell us how much bandwidth our camera is going to use. Okay, so we are going to say we have 8 megapixel, right? We already talked about it. 4K is 8 megapixel. We're going to say 20 frames per second. An H.264 compression for encoding. We'll talk about the difference between H.264 and H.265, which most of the newer recorders have now, and how that affects this process. But what you can see quickly is if we have a single 4K camera streaming at 20 frames per second, we are using 12,000 Kbps or 12 Mbps. And simple math will tell you 192. That would be 192 Mbps for 16 cameras, which far exceeds our bandwidth limit here, right? Over twice. So what that tells us is we have a problem. Okay, so we can do one of two things. Okay, as you can see, the recorder has the ability, you can't see it here, but if we go to the data sheet, it has the ability for H.265 and H.265 plus encoding. Okay, so what we can do, if we go back to the calculator, if we change this from 264 to H.265, because we know that recorder has that capability, we'll see the bandwidth go down to 10 per camera. Okay, but we know also that's not enough because our limitation is 80. This is only enough for 8 cameras, folks. 8 times 10 is 80, and that is our maximum bandwidth. Okay, so what do? We can limit the frames per second. 25 is very high. Say we go down to 15. Okay, now we're talking. Now we can have 16 cameras and fall within that 80 Mbps range. Okay, and I will tell you, 50 frames per second is still very high quality. The other option you could do is you could change this to H.265 plus if your recorder has that ability, and then we can go down to 15. And now look, you know, now we're really cooking. Now we have plenty of processing power in that NVR, and we're not going to be touching that 80 Mbps. Okay, so that's how that works. What we're going to talk about now, after we figure out, what we have to put the recorder in. Okay, so we're going to say we're going to stick with H.265 plus and 15 frames per second to make sure we're meeting the bandwidth requirements of the NVR. We're going to go into the NVR now and configure each of those channels to this setting. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, as you can tell, we have logged into Hikvision's remote software client, which is IVMS 4200. If you have not downloaded or used this product, there's a link going across the top of your screen right now that walks you through downloading it, how to live view and playback video, so on and so forth. But the purpose of this video is to talk about encoding issues and ensuring that each channel is configured so that the total bandwidth, incoming bandwidth, for the NVR is within manufacturer specs. And earlier we talked about what those limits are with this recorder. We need to stay below 5000 Kbps or 5 Mbps per channel because it's a 16 channel recorder, and that will keep us below the 80 Mbps limit. Okay, so we're going to go to device management right here. It will list any active recorders on your account with the green online button. You're going to go to this star here, and when you hover above it, it will tell you that's remote configuration. When you click on that, you are logging into your NVR and its configuration settings remotely, and that's what we want to do. Once we're logged in, we will see image as an option down here on the bottom. We want to select image and double click this video audio tab, and this will bring us to our encoding settings for each channel. Okay, and again, we talked about the tool that we used earlier to figure out how much each channel could use and still keep us underneath that 80 Mbps limit. So we know it was 15 frames per second. We know that H.265 compression had to be enabled, and we knew the maximum that each camera could be is 5000. So we would not want to click 8192 Kbps, right? That is 8 Mbps. If you times that by 16, surely we are over the 80 that our machine can handle. So we want to stay below 5000. This is actually a 2 megapixel camera, so it was already at 2048. Okay, as you can see, 1080p here. This is not a 4K camera, so it doesn't need as much Kbps. Okay, so this is what you want to do. You want to go to each channel, and you want to make sure that your frame rate is 15 frames per second or lower, that your H.265 plus is enabled, and that your bit rate is below 5,000. Okay, if you do not have H.265 compression, okay, which some cameras won't, then you'll have to adjust the frame rate to what that converter told you. Okay, you'll probably have to go down to 10 frames per second. Okay, and it will also tell you the Kbps that you need to be below. But this is what you want to do for each channel. Once you do that and you get that outgoing bandwidth below 80, you will see your phone app, your hik-connect phone app, as well as this IVMS 4200 software. It will stream fluently, just like the example we had in the middle of the video. Okay, hopefully this video was useful to you. If so, please like the video and we'll see you in the field.